you ever read scripture and been excited by what you've read, yet at the same time unnerved? I have. For example, in Matthew chapter 5, we see Jesus giving this epic speech on the Mount, the Sermon on the Mount, where he is giving instructions to his followers, to his disciples. He's telling them of the standards of which he expects them to live by. These standards, by our standards, almost seem far-fetched or almost borderline impossible, yet Jesus deemed it so important for him to speak it in the first place. Matthew deems it so important that he documents it to the point that now, over 2,000 years later, they're there, staring us in the face in black and white. Then in Acts chapter 5, we read about these same ordinary men that sat and listened and spent time with Jesus. These same ordinary people, majority of which have had no form of normal education. These guys are majority uneducated men, yet they're in debate with some of the most intellectual scribes of the day. And these men, they leave the intelligent men feeling in awe, almost standing not knowing what to say, speechless by what they hear, saying only they can take note that they spent time with Jesus. These ordinary men, something had changed. And in Acts chapter 5, we then read of Peter, ordinary Peter, the fisherman who became disciple, ordinary, the same person who denied Jesus 3 times on the cross. So we see this ordinary person. Yet it says at the time that people would lay their sick out on the floor in the marketplace so that merely Peter's shadow, ordinary Peter's shadow, might move over them as he walked past and that they would be healed. This is big. But I don't know about you, but this excites me. It builds up an excitement within me. Yet at the same time, I'm also hit with this pang of fear. Excitement because I can see that God can use ordinary men like Peter, ordinary people like me. God can use you. But at the same time, I'm also hit with this element of fear. I'm hit with fear because I don't see this happening now in my generation. I don't see this happening in our churches. I don't see this happening in our lives. Something, somewhere, has gone wrong. That we've become to a point where we've got comfortable with normality. That the normal has become comfortable. That we expect little to nothing. Yeah, I say something has to change. And I say, let it be now. See, now is the time that we stand up to be counted. Now is the time where we begin to become the people who God designed and created for us to be. Now is the time when we start to become the disciples that God called for us to be and live the way that Christ taught. Now is the time that we begin to expect the impossible. So I guess my question to you is this: will you join the revolution?